Many people of American citizenry do not understand the importance of our society of being a place of peace, honor, love, and regard. Kind of like from the late 70s when people were going to these music concerts to just have a good time, to meet people, to socialize, and to find a new job. A lot in the music industry, a lot who were eclectic, and a lot who were living outside the lines of their families and relatives. A lot of times family and relatives that have never had a business don't know how to advise us on a business, and something we talk about forever in the network marketing field, which is basically a conglomerate of what we call a freelance or a volunteer army of promoting something and trying to build a better retirement for our families, is that we often say that you don't go to someone who's not an expert in something to get advice. When we start to do these things on the side, people start to look at us funny, but sometimes it means we have to make a choice. Is my family and my future retirement in my elderly years, when I don't know what my healthcare situation is going to be or what I'm going to be required to need to do for my life, and my actual genetics of heritage, meaning what I'm going to inherit from my parentage and who birthed me, in other terms of what happens to our genes when we're aging, right? Is that we're going to have to figure out how to care for ourselves. And if we haven't invested in a home because we didn't want one or we didn't want to deal with the lawn mowing or other things, then we're still going to have to rent someplace or own something that gives us a place to sleep at night during the various times and temperatures of the world. And at some point, we might time out of being able to drive. So then we have to decide to go, okay, so while we're young and able, do we live in a camper so that when we're old and disabled, we can live in a retirement home? But retirement homes today that are worth anything at all are usually about $1,000 a month pay. So unless you've been able to put away stocks and bonds and other types of things in your retirement, will your retirement package, your 401k package, or whatever you're doing with CDs, IRA bonds, and all this other stuff, is that going to cover it? Or are you lucky enough that you have a relative who did things well, and for God, whatever reason, they chose to bequeath to you some heritage, or if you will, what we call some infiltratable discretionary income that still has taxes to pay on. Now, if you're like me, you barely make enough a year because of not choice, because of difficulties and people interfering every fucking minute with almost getting a job. You see, young people think they're playing a game, so they pass that game around, and they don't get how much damage they're doing to their own lives in front of God, let alone to the actual person that they're abusing with technology or other things. They're confusing themselves on their rights. You see, the American Population Act that's coming down the way is going to start to say, we don't have to welcome foreigners into the country in any way. International studentship is no longer a necessity for cross-cultural diversity, which is what it was when it began in the late 60s to early 70s, that America realized we need to have these cultural exchanges. We don't need them anymore if the cultural exchange is putting American people at major material, personal, physical, and lethal risk.